I don't understand what people saw in that.
It was a pathetic disappointment.
It was. I waited 2 goddamn years for that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we even had a civil war with our local movie theater owner about it.
I know, because we were that excited for it, and this wasn't. God, this was awful. I mean, it was such a letdown.
I mean.
I can't do it. Oh man, I can't do it. Oh man, we can't even do that for a straight face.
翼と翼触れ合うように大空高く旋回すれば歓喜の叫び世界に響くさよなら日本さよならやっぱ真っ赤に燃えた太陽を受けて仲良く親子故郷に帰る仲良く親子故郷に帰る
It was what, put it in words that I understand. It's like when you're a baby, you have a poopy diaper, and it finally gets changed. It's
right.
That feeling.
It's that feeling
relief.
of getting it really. Oh, I don't want my hat.
It's just.
I have my hat now.
It's just such a. It was just such a sigh of relief from the crap we've been getting.
Oh my God.
Force fed to us this summer.
Yeah, I know.
This year.
And another thing that I'm always going to like about this is that we saw it at a drive-in theater. Because it's like, that was the perfect way, because all the old Kaiju movies were shown in drive-in theaters, usually as double bills, and this is a double bill. Of course, we didn't stay for The Conjuring, because that would only ruin the total awesomeness of Pacific Rim. Which I just want to say right now, we need to rub this in Dave's face, because that theater was packed. It was packed.
There were a lot of people
people there to go see Pacific Rim, and I'm going to rub it right in Dave's face next time I see him, which probably next patchwork, because I always work with him every Wednesday. Anyways, so I don't know about you. I mean, I've been waiting for this movie for 2 years. I mean, just myself being such a big Kaiju
263 days and about 4 hours. I don't remember the number I just said.
Oh.
263 days and 4 hours. I do remember it.
Okay. I really don't want to wear my hat in this video. Oh well.
I don't.
Well, it's
I
my
don't.
thing. Whatever. Get back in frame.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, so, again, waiting 2 years for this, being such a giant monster fan, it was the can of fresh air to just a giant turd.
It literally.
It was, and something else that I like was that, you know, I was hoping that when Cloverfield got released, that would revive the giant monster movies, and it wasn't time yet.
Yeah.
Superheroes are still huge. Superheroes are still huge, but thank God Man of Steel didn't do as well as people were hoping, because that movie was shit.
That was cinema trash.
That was trash, complete trash. And it was such a mess. I think that was my biggest complaint with that. It was just a mess.
Yeah.
But Pacific Rim, I can now go out in public and say, I just watched a Kaiju movie.
Yeah.
And not get laughed at. Because that movie took itself seriously enough, but yet also had fun with it at the same time. It felt like a slightly more serious version of the Avengers. You know, like the Avengers was a little bit more on the silly side than it was the serious side,
Right.
but then we have this movie here, which had its silly moments in it, but then it had like some really good, intense moments. Like, I don't know if it did this for you, but the one where Mako...
Spoiler alert.
Oh, fucking shit. That's pretty much in like all my videos, man.
Well, you should say it anyways. For people, first-time viewers.
Whatever. Oh, I also want to say that I stayed away from all the reviews and stuff
so
like
did
that.
Yep.
So I wouldn't.
Yeah, I stayed off IMDb for the first time in my life.
I know. I was like, yeah, I'm not even checking out those pages. I'm not even reading any.
Because I usually go on
synopsis.
and even when I hadn't seen The Hobbit, I went on and tore people apart for being judgmental and everything. I didn't go on. I read one review, and that was only by what's his face, the dude who worked under Ebert.
Oh, Hebert. Oh.
Hebert.
I thought you said Hebert. Ebert.
Ebert.
Okay. It's like Hebert. Anyways. But yeah, I stayed away from all that because I really wanted to go to this movie. I mean, sure, I watched all the trailers and I watched all the featurettes pretty faithfully. Badass. But
I know.
again, I didn't pay attention. But anyways, one scene that really stuck out to me, just how well done it was definitely the scene where Mako gets caught in her dream, or whatever it was, her memory. I mean, that's the scene that did it for me.
Yeah, when she's like running away from the kaiju,
Yeah.
she's tearing through the.
And you know, you haven't seen the movie, but Gamera 3, a big purpose of the movie, it opens with a dream and it depicts Gamera as being evil when he's not. Gamera
Right.
is a good guy, but just because it's in this girl Ayana's mind, she makes Gamera look evil,
Right.
and that's what that scene kind of reminded me of, because it made it look like the kaiju was specifically chasing after her, which in reality that really wouldn't have been the case.
Right.
It would have just been destroying the buildings, doing whatever it can to fuck humanity over. God, I could love the movie. I did. This is like the best summer movie I've seen since Tron Legacy. Like, I love Tron Legacy, if you guys haven't noticed, because I bring that video up, or I bring Tron Legacy up whenever I talk about a summer movie. But I really like Tron Legacy. Let's see, what was something that you really liked about it? I mean, you're not as big as a Giant Monster fan as me, so
Right.
and you like the movie, so.
Well, besides the cinematography, I thought that the battle sequences were on a scale of such awesome ferocity that they were just like.
Oh yeah.
The cinematography. I mean, I think you agree too. That we were saying on the ride home is that the cinematography was, you know, it was hard to follow during the battle sequences. It was like.
It wasn't jarring because it wasn't. I thought the editing was smooth. It was just.
Yeah.
If I was to say jarring, it would be watch the Transformers movies, but it was just, I had a hard time focusing on what was what.
Yeah.
Especially since everything was kind of blue.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I'm sure that's what the director, knowing Del Toro, that's probably something that he was going for. And, I mean, other than that, I thought the cinematography was pretty good. Like, I loved the opening. The opening of this movie was fucking great.
Yeah, I love the scene. The complete random, you know, the people on the was it the beach or something?
Yeah.
And they were
They're
using
cleaning.
the metal detector and looking for stuff.
Oh yeah, they were in Alaska. They were looking for like shipwrecks and stuff like that.
he's like, oh, we never find anything good. And then,
Which is clearly a reference to old kaiju movies that clearly do that. And all of a sudden, oh, freaking Gypsy Danger comes out of nowhere. Which is a great scene. I like that.
Yeah, well, I like it. Yeah,
They pretty much set up the universe better than
right.
than
I
probably most of those kind of movies do.
You understand, you know, how big this thing is, and how much power it has. Because even being like dead, it still, you know, puts huge holes in the ground and.
Yeah, and also I also liked how they brought up that. I mean, this is something again also was brought up in Gamera 3, but I like it how they bring it up that they have these giant robots, the Jaegers, to fight the kaiju, but yet people are still going to die.
Right.
Especially when they get into these fights, it's the only way they're going to be able to stop the kaiju. And I also like it how they did it in such a way where I thought it was just done well, because it did it in a way where people became accepting of that.
Right.
Became very accepting of that. And that was something new. That was something in kaiju films that hadn't really been done. And I know I'm speaking complete gibberish to you right now, but the scene where it was carrying the Gypsy Danger was carrying.
Oh, is that the one where you
boat.
screamed bloody murder, where probably the whole town of Lancaster heard you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like War of the Gargantuas, because there's a scene in War of the Gargantuas where they're fighting in the water, and one of them picks up a boat and just drops it right down onto the other one's face, and I was like, that's such a reference. But God, the movie was full of little tiny references to specifically Ishiro Honda giant monster movies. And this movie was dedicated to Ishiro Honda, which is like the first time a movie has ever been dedicated to him, which just about brought a tear to my eye. If it wasn't more focused that we had to get our car jumped, but whatever. But it really was, I think we are going to see a revival in the giant monster genre now.
Yeah.
Especially with this and Godzilla coming out in 2014. I think we are. We're going to see studios being like, well, that movie didn't do very well here in the United States, but Jesus, did it do well overseas.
Right.
So I think we got something coming. I think we've got the return of the giant monsters with Pacific Rim.
There's a storm coming.
No.
Sorry.
We're canceling the apocalypse! I love this. Oh, it was so good. I mean, the opening was good, the middle was good. I thought everything about this movie was...
There was no points that I wanted to be like, okay, let's go on to the next...
But yeah, that was another thing.
I run into that with pretty much every movie, where there's always just one little scene, not very long, even my favorite films, where it's like, alright, come on. Right,
let's go on to the... And I thought I was going to have that because, to be honest, I thought it was going to end after that fight with the two kaijus in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was going to end there, and I thought that was the big fight, and I was like, oh, okay.
It gets better.
No, it gets a lot better. I was like, oh my god. Oh no, actually, you know what? I really thought the movie was going to end. It was going to end with, we are going to cancel the apocalypse! And then it was just going to like cut to black or something, and the credits were going to start rolling. That would have been a great cliffhanger ending, but...
I'm pretty sure fans would have probably...
like, shit their pants and been like, fuck! But, God, it was... It did. It kept me on the edge of my seat enough that I was entertained throughout the entire thing. I love Mako and the guy's relationship.
Yeah.
And how it wasn't a true relationship. It wasn't like, oh, they're going to fall in love. I mean, it was done well enough.
And maybe they do.
No, they might have. Because that ending... I know you and I were like, at the ending I was like, please don't kiss. And you're like, they're probably going to kiss. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, they're going to kiss. Oh, no! They just gave each other a hug. And I was like,
but
oh,
then
thank
it
God.
kind of pans out, so you don't really know.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know, but...
Or maybe...
I was happy at least, because that's what Ishiro Honda did. Ishiro Honda left it to the imagination.
We might see in a sequel.
And if they do a sequel, which, to be honest, if they don't do a sequel, I'd be fine.
Yeah,
because I thought this movie was good enough.
Right.
That if it had a sequel, damn right, I'm still going to go watch it. It's not going to be like Kick-Ass. But if they don't do a sequel, I'm going to be just as fucking happy with this Pacific Rim as it is.
Then, what do they call it?
Atlantic Rim. Oh wait, no, that's an Asylum movie. Anyways, this is a good, genuine, fun movie, and I think more summer blockbusters need to be like this.
Yeah.
You could really tell, and you said this to me, but you could really tell that everyone was just having the time of their life making this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, I find that, at least with me, I can tell when someone's, casted, they don't really want to be in the position, but they're doing it because, it's a movie, it's a job.
They have to.
Right. But they all looked like they were having a time of their life. They were all having fun. They were all happy to be there. I mean, you could just tell that their demeanor was...
Yeah, and it didn't feel like Hangover Part 3 had this bad. It felt like they were literally putting more than just a paycheck into the movie. It felt like they were more than just, okay, I'm going to get a paycheck here. It felt like they were actually putting some character.
I know that there were a few actors on there. It was one of that they have pretty much nothing else under their belts.
Right. So I know. There was a few characters.
The main character, he was pretty.
I don't really know what else he's really been in.
I don't know if anything of this scale. So I mean, if you think about it, I mean this.
Which is something else that Ishiro Honda did. Ishiro Honda casted nobodies, and I think Guillermo del Toro, he's just... I could tell he was a big fan of kaiju movies.
Right.
By watching this. I mean, he's always said that he'd said that the original Godzilla is one of his favorite movies of all time. And he loves, like, War of the Gargantuas, he loves all those. But, something that I also find interesting is that he didn't just sort of imitate Ishiro Honda. He actually added his own spin on it. Like, he told the cinematography people to just add their own thing to it and not to imitate shots from, like, War of the Gargantuas during the fight scene. Which, I mean, to be honest, that's what I would have done.
Right.
Because if you wanted, to me, if I was going to go full out to make this a dedication to somebody, that's how I would have done it.
Well, I find that that Del Toro, his the way that he runs a movie isn't like do it this way. It's more like do it this way, but it's okay if you
do it this way.
Improv a little there, or move it this way, or.
Well, Del Toro is he's a pretty cool guy.
He looks like such a happy fella.
He does. Another thing that is really cool, and Ishiro Honda would have loved this, because Ishiro Honda was a pacifist. So is Del Toro.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily agree with, but I noticed it in this. There was no general, there was no sergeant, there was no captain. It was, what was it? Marshal.
Yeah.
It was Marshal and Ranger.
Yeah.
There were no. It wasn't basically a military recruitment video like a lot of kaiju films are, including mine. I'm guilty of it. Like, mine is very much dedicated to the military and actually saying that they're a good thing. This movie, I liked it how I didn't do that. It would have been. It would have been.
Almost for a little bit, I felt like that they were almost saying, "Oh, well, the military gave up on us."
I didn't really get that.
I did a little bit. Well, because if you think about it, in the beginning, when he's talking to the wall of faces, and they're like, sorry, and there's like a wall of faces, and they're like, "No, the Jaeger program is worthless."
Those are the people from the UN. That was like the government more than it was the military.
Well, the government's in charge of the military. And you notice that after he finishes that conversation, he's no longer wearing his uniform?
Oh, yeah, I did notice that.
Technically,
if you look at it, that wasn't a military uniform either. The Jaeger one? The Jaeger wasn't...
No, I'm saying the
Marshals...
Yeah, his uniform,
the Marshals' uniform wasn't still a military protocol uniform. It wasn't...
Yeah. Well, I mean...
It looked like it was its own branch, which if it was the Jaeger thing, that would actually make sense.
Well, it's a United Nation branch, probably. Right.
But I actually like that in this movie, too, because normally when they say the world has to unite to fight this, it's kind of done stereotypical, but in something like this, I was like, no, that's actually kind of warranted, and I could actually picture us kind of banding together.
And they didn't do it in like a sappy way either. They did it
No, they just said, here's the situation.
Let's pool some money in, our technology in, and get this done and protect ourselves.
Yeah.
They weren't like, let's link arms and...
Sing Kumbaya around a fucking fire.
Right.
No, I thought that was good. Something else that... Shiro Honda did that a lot. The Mysterians, Battle in Outer Space. He did that a lot, where a threat is faced by Earth.
Yep.
And one nation can't fight them off alone, so nations are able to look past their differences for the time being to fend off the foe. And Ishiro Honda did that a lot, so I was very happy to see Del Toro do that with this, and it was done well too. Because even Ishiro Honda in a couple of his movies, they're kind of clunky at how he does it.
Yeah.
It depends on how well his source material is. And in this, I thought it was done extremely well. It very much did feel like some of the earlier Ishiro Honda movies, which you're not anywhere near as familiar with him as me. But people who are watching this, I bet you they are.
Right.
And they'll know what I mean by saying that his earlier stuff is definitely his best stuff.
Right.
God, I thought it was cool. It established its own branch. I like that. That was cool. It wasn't just army. It wasn't military. It was its own Jaeger foundation. It was the Jaeger Foundation. It was the Jaeger.
And then I liked how they were allowed to just leave. They got rid of their reliance on and they relied on themselves, because it mentions how he gets the money from
they had to wind up pooling. They had to relying on themselves, instead of the government, because they had that, which to be honest actually did sound like a good idea. Was the anti-kaiju wall?
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't actually sound like a good idea.
And then it doesn't work.
That doesn't fucking work. Then suddenly the Jaeger comes in and kicks the kaiju's butt,
The scene when they're showing the TV and it's in Australia, I thought that was one of the best scenes with the kaiju.
It looks so good because they had the wall there. Even in the trailers, I didn't notice this.
Yeah.
But they had the wall there. They had the kaiju destroying the bridges.
Yeah.
And they had that dome thing, whatever the fuck it's called. That was really good. Yeah. And
the CG was phenomenal.
It's ILM. It's Industrial Lights and Magic, and I can tell you the hardest stuff to do with CG is to do moving metal.
Yeah.
And they did excellent.
I didn't notice any sort of...
No, I thought the CG looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
In fact, some of probably the best CG I've seen since the remake of King Kong. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I loved it. Looked so good, and I also felt like a lot of movies have this problem where it just feels like they're on a green screen looking at pretending to look at something that is added in later. This movie had a whole scope to it. That, like the scene where the father and the son get on top of the Jaeger and just shoot those little tiny things at the kaiju because they're like, well, whatever the fuck, what else the fuck are we gonna do?
Right.
And we're fucked anyways.
Either we sit here and die, or we get out there and do something stupid. That is the line.
Yeah.
He's like, all right.
Kaiju. Anyway, we're gonna get to that in a little bit, anyways. But I didn't feel like they were just looking at a fake thing; that they were looking at a green screen, had to pretend it was there. I felt like there was something there.
They had a poster there or something.
No. Like I actually, whatever.
Like a giant poster of his face. Wouldn't put it past Del Toro.
Del Toro would have been back.
Yeah. I'm getting that mounted on my wall.
It did. It just felt like they were there. I felt like there was a connection there. And another thing I liked was the close-up on the kaiju's face was once the scales moved, there was stuff underneath it. Yep. There's a lot of texture in there, and I was like, God damn, that's good.
And then when they were inside it, too. When they were
yeah. And the external shots of the Jaegers, you could see all the gears moving and everything.
Yeah, when they were holding back when they were holding the kaiju back on the edge of the pier, you could see the gears
like jamming up. You could see all that stuff. It was wonderful. And even the insides of the Jaegers, those are all physical effects. Del Toro said that he wanted it to be physical effects. And I fucking loved that. And I was like, there's no other way you could have done that. The cheapest way you could have done it is just make the entire thing green screen.
Right.
And I was like, no, he decided to go something more physical. And again, it just proves that physical looks better and works better because the actors were actually having something to work with and having something to... They had weights, quite a bit of weight apparently, close to like a ton, that like whenever they had to throw a punch forward, they had like a ton, like they had to lift, both of them, or something like that. And it added a whole sense of another level of realism to something that was already done pretty well. Like they could have just simply had like something simple, but just having that weight there just added it, made it feel like...
You could tell that because when there was a scene when they were fighting and you could hear... It was quiet and you had to be listening for it, but you could hear them going... you could hear them doing all that stuff. You could hear them breathing like they had just been working out, and that's not something you can really...
you can't really... You can act it, but it's tough to act, and these guys...
To act it in a way that sounds like you're really been...
That's really... Right. And this, it was...
It sounded like
Del Toro said he created a torture machine.
Right.
And I think he was correct in that, because there's sparks flying everywhere, there was water getting poured in them, there was red lighting, and I thought probably some of the best sets ever was created for that. And it was like put on a levee so that they could be shaking with it. Yeah. Del Toro just proved that physical effects are the way to go. Right. In that case, and then...
You hear that, Peter Jackson?
I know. God damn, I never thought you'd get that bad.
Love The Hobbit, don't get me wrong. I love that movie, but...
And then I kind of also feel like this is somewhat of a middle finger to Peter Jackson, too, because he was supposed to direct The Hobbit. Yeah. But then all of a sudden he's like, nope, fuck that. Pacific Rim. Anyways, so the two scientists.
Oh, gosh.
Love them.
They were like...
Right from the first scenes that they're in.
Yeah, they just come running in, and it's like, oh, yeah.
The clash in personalities was perfect. And you could just tell that they were friends, even though they really hated each other. And I mean, I love those kind of relationships where they hate each other, but they really don't.
Right, and it's like, I mean, because you could visually tell one's all about science.
Yeah.
And the other one is like an abstract thinker. He's like
one is clearly all about, these are the facts.
These are the numbers, this is what it is.
He's also the German.
He's also the German. Weird how he's also the German.
Weird. And then that scene where he's like, well, we're going to have to... do the handshake together. And I was like, aww.
It's like, well, it's either we die or we die. That's basically like what he was saying. It's like,
everybody had that mentality. It was like, well, we're gonna fucking die anyway.
Yeah, that was. I noticed that was a big feature of the movie for me too. Is that they never said there was never it was never a positive light, and I think that added to the attachment emotionally to the characters in the film, is because it's like they were like the whole entire movie they're like, well, we're gonna die, so
well, yeah, there's a great possibility that we're gonna die, so what the fuck.
I mean, we're fighting for we're fighting the end of the world.
It is, and I love that too.
And it's like, and they made you believe that they were gonna die.
Yeah. And I thought that was done well, because sometimes that's done and it's done really cliched.
Right.
In this movie, I thought it was done well.
And it definitely attached you to the characters a little more.
And the script poked fun of itself too. There's that scene where the more scientific scientist was like,
I forget his name.
I know, me too. Anyways,
that was something.
We're doing this exactly like almost right after we watched the movie, so. He's like, anyways, that scientist starts saying, like, it's like a heartbeat, it's like an angel, and he starts saying all these poetic kind of things, and the guy behind him is like, what? And I'm like, that's perfect, because that's exactly how I approach some dialogue. Chris Nolan does it bad.
Yeah.
But most of the time he's able to do it well, but a couple times I just went like, what? Who would say that? And I just loved how the scientist was like,
what are you, a ball of fluff? I like,
I love that. I just love the relation. I know, like, a lot of people have complained. A couple of my friends have complained that they thought that they were a little too over the top.
Yeah.
I can understand why they thought that, but I thought it was fine.
I think the
scientists. I think you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Because they're always a little bit crazy, and I like that.
The only time I saw any problem, there was only one scene in the whole movie where I saw a problem with a little bit of a dialogue problem, was towards the beginning when he had just got to the base in Hong Kong, and he was going into his room, and there was what's her name? Mako was there, and he's like, I'm sorry, kind of thing. You know, he was like, I don't know I don't remember exactly what was happening because it was like a small point in the film, but it felt almost like what he was saying was a little too corny. Yes, he was trying to be a jackass, and his character didn't.
Oh, yeah, and his character didn't necessarily scream jackass.
Right, and that's what.
Right.
And it was just like, and it was so. It
that was a little.
clashed.
That was kind of weird. I didn't really notice it.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it. But I can tell you one of the things that I like. It just shows the bond between Mako, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Mako because that's just what I remember hearing.
Grammatically correct.
I don't know if it is or not. Not Mako, the guy with the raspy voice who does the voice of Iroh. But I love it how they just got done fighting, and you were like, "Oh, she's going to kick his ass," and I was like, "No, she's not."
Well, I didn't understand at first I didn't understand the conceptual point of the.
It's supposed to be a tie.
Right, I didn't understand
Yeah.
I was just missing the point that was supposed to be a tie.
Yeah.
And then after I got that, I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Right.
And then I love it how she starts going into his room.
Yeah.
Just kind of shows you how connected they were.
Right.
I thought that was cool.
Right.
I thought that was cool too. Again, I just love their relationship.
Right.
It wasn't anything like, oh, I love you. Oh, I love you too. Which, quite frankly, if they wound up doing that in this movie, I would have been fine with it because I thought the characters were well enough that it could have worked. But I was glad that they didn't do that. I was glad they went with the more we're good friends kind of deal. Because Mako lost just about everything. And I loved how the Marshal was her father. Was like her father figure. I liked that a lot. I love the relationship with her, and the Marshal. Which he's a badass anyways. 1, don't touch me. 2, don't touch me. Oh, it's so funny. It was that line there, and Kaiju groupie. That I'm gonna remember the most out of this movie.
And
Sarazawa's scale was clever.
And the Russians.
Oh my god, the Russians always have the badass stuff.
I mean, they died like super quick, but.
Well, they even went out like a badass.
No,
I had to admit, they went out like a badass because they went out with like their. And the Chinese one, the Crimson Typhoon, I think that was one. But all of a sudden, it's like 4 arms went out instead of like
3.
Whatever.
There were triplets.
Well, no. I mean their arms. The arms on the Crimson Typhoon. There was 4 arms.
There were 3 arms.
But there was 3 people inside the thing.
Yeah, 1 controlled each arm.
Okay, I didn't notice. Whatever. But I love the.
Yeah, I know. Like it was like a shuriken at the end.
Yeah, and then also on the Gypsy Danger, I love how something's just like, no, we haven't done everything yet. Suddenly, I hit
just a sword.
And I was like, Power Rangers. And like at that moment, the thing that was going through my head was, go, go, Power Rangers!
Right.
I was expecting it to just like jump up to the sky, and suddenly like a sword just comes out of nowhere, and lightning and explosions everywhere.
But instead it was a badass
chain sword. It wasn't just a sword, it was a chain
It comes out like a whip, and then it locks together. And
I loved it. That was so cool. And everything worked. Everything fit together. That's what I liked about it too, because sometimes when it comes to CG, Transformer movies are horrible with that. Sometimes all of a sudden you see something pop out of nowhere and you're like, where the fuck did that come from?
Right.
On this movie, everything like
it's like a video game with guns. They just
come out of nowhere.
It's just like
right.
You're carrying an RPG, 8 grenades, some C4, and 6 guns.
So
and enough ammo to fight a
small army.
Small army.
Right. And on this, everything made sense. Everything made logical sense. And another thing I liked about this movie that a lot of films lack, especially action films, physics.
Yeah.
I don't know what is it with me in physics, but
physics is your friend.
Physics is your friend. Not in movies, though. But especially in Lord of the Rings. Anyway.
That's okay.
That is
because it's the Middle Earth.
Right.
And because it's Peter Jackson. And his lovely beard can do whatever it wants.
Yeah.
It has all the power. I mean, seriously, I hate the CG in that movie, but I can deal with it.
Right.
I don't know how, because I hate that kind of stuff.
Because Peter Jackson.
Because it's Peter Jackson.
If it was, like, George Lucas, we'd be like...
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Pacific Rim. God, I just loved how, like, when one of the Jaegers got thrown, and when they landed, you could feel the weight of how it fell.
And in the sound system in the truck, you could feel it go boom.
You felt like it was something heavy hitting the ground.
Right.
And that was missing from a lot of stuff.
That'll be good to watch if you have a big home theater.
Home theater surround sound.
Surround sounds.
Actually, you know what? I think the best way you could probably listen to that is with headphones.
Yeah.
Because those are like right next to your ear anyways. Right. But God. And I never really talk about sound mixing in terms of movies, but God, was this one good. Yeah. Just like the little tiny voices or the robot voice in the background going...
No, the monotone voice.
The voice of the computer from Portal.
Yeah. And it literally was.
Yeah, it was. It was exactly what it was. And they did that for a reason. And I kept making fun of it because as soon as after that scene where it looks like Mako was about to blow up the place because she gets caught in that memory, and all of a sudden when everything stopped, I said in the computer voice, "Time to make some tea." And I was like, yeah, that sounds like something.
Well, I love it. It's just like, system shut down. Would you like to try again?
Would you like to try again?
it's like
it's funny. The movie definitely poked fun of itself in a good way.
No, it did, and that's the kind of thing you look for, is a movie that's not afraid to have fun.
Yeah, and this movie was everyone was having fun.
Unless you're talking about a movie like Schindler's List.
And then you're not supposed to. If you had fun with that,
you would probably die.
You're on my favorite list. The Jews. I'm not cutting that out. Anyways.
Good.
Oh, my swamp.
I have nothing wrong with the Jewish people.
I do.
Well, American Jews, I do, but... No, just all of them.
Just all of them. Anyways, here comes... I don't know, pissing people off.
We definitely... Yeah.
Oh, well. But I thought the movie was just really good. I did. I really, other than the cinematography, and during some of the fight scenes where I got a little confused at what I was looking at, nothing big in my mind really jumped out at me saying, oh my God, why did they do that? I thought it was pretty close to perfect. Yeah. I really liked the movie.
Visibly you could read into it and be an asshole and be like, oh, there's a plot hole there, and there's a plot hole there. But see, that's not what the movie's about.
Well, no. I think this movie could get away with those plot holes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because at that opening monologue, pretty much explains, well, here's the bare bones of it, and because we don't know much about the other dimensions technology and how they do it, I think we could look past some of those plot holes, and I don't look at them as plot holes. I say, well, we just don't know how it works.
Right. Well, I know there are going to be people out there, oh, well, where was the military? Where was the...
Well, no, and then you can scream, well, no, clearly the military was doing something because they explained it took how many military units? And that's something cool, too. I like how
6 days, something like that?
And that was something I liked, too, is that it explained that these kaiju weren't invincible.
Tore a path through 3 and destroyed 3 cities.
Yeah, it was like 32 miles of pure destruction. But I liked how these monsters weren't invincible.
You're right.
I liked how these monsters, because of course in a lot of kaiju movies, tanks fire at them and it doesn't jack shit. In this movie, it clearly explains that they were able to stop the kaiju.
It just took
a category 1, a category 1 kaiju, but it took a lot of firepower.
Right.
I like that. I thought that was something.
I like the categories too.
Yeah, I like that. They had everything classified.
Right.
Or not classified, categorized.
I really wish we could have seen more of the the lower numbers, though.
Which, if they do a sequel...
Yeah, I do. Sorry for that 6th grade moment.
Oh, I do it. I do that all the time. I'm like, you said do. So what exactly do you do?
I don't know.
Well, the dogs are at... Sorry, I was putting in Frankenstein. Anyways, if they do... If they do a sequel there.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I would actually like to see more. I'd like to see a prequel.
Yeah.
I would like to see. Oh shit! Well, I'd like to see how everything started. That would be something interesting. Which, if they don't, that's fine.
Yeah,
but I would be very interested into seeing how everything started.
Like the version 1 of the
Jaegers. Like the first kaiju versus the first Jaegers.
Right. The serious when they weren't great.
Yeah.
When they weren't super badass.
Like the Marshall.
Right.
The Marshall's story.
Right, where he gets cancer because of the.
Was it cancer or was it just the radiation poisoning? Because I like that too.
Well, radiation poisoning gives you cancer.
Well, no, because it doesn't necessarily make you bleed like that. That just looks like tissue decay from the radiation more than cancer.
Right.
I also like how they did that too. They didn't just look, radiation, well, we could live through that. No, it clearly fucks you up.
Yeah, the whole movie, you don't know what's going on. He's taking these pills from a little tin.
Whatever it is, whatever they are. I don't even know if they were pills. I don't know, whatever they were.
Right.
But you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh. When he explains it, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Right. And coming from him, I'm almost like, duh.
I mean, his character was, I felt, like I said with all the other ones, I felt this almost somehow I felt like this really close emotional attachment to these characters.
You see, who was your favorite character?
Honestly, I really liked the father guy. The
Marshal?
No, the other one.
The father to that arrogant jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked this character because he didn't have a big role, but the role he did have was an impactful role on the...
God, I feel really... Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Right. He was in the background. You didn't really see him all the time. He didn't take up the screen, but he had such a... I mean, the whole decision, at the end of the movie when they're fighting the kaiju to explode the thing.
Well, he's willing to make the sacrifice.
He says, well, my dad says when you have the shot, take it.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the father figure, was a huge part. Even though he isn't, he is.
Right. So he's kind of like one of those back characters.
He's he's kind of like someone who does a marionette.
He's one of those kind. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Mine's Mako. Yeah. I loved Mako.
Second favorite, definitely.
I love vengeful characters. I like that kind of stuff. And I thought, god damn, her scene with her running away from the kaiju, I thought it was so hard seeing that kid doing that. I just found it was very unnerving to watch. Like, you wanted to look away.
Right.
And again, that's just a testament to not only that little girl's acting, but
Del Toro's she's got to have some sort of future.
I know.
Because that 15-minute
thing, and it took up a big chunk of the movie.
It was, it was like
that's probably
eyes glued to screen.
To me, that was the heaviest moment in the movie.
Right. Because he's yelling, it's just a dream. It's just a.
Yeah, and at first I didn't understand why the fuck is he here, but then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they're connected. Right. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Right.
God, that was...
And
I
she's
thought that was
not
so well
ignoring
done.
him. And,
Yeah.
And then I also love when she lifts up her hands,
Yeah.
like to fight the thing, and then you see the robot.
Yeah, the robot does it, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
So they're still connected, even though they're not technically
connected, right?
This is weird.
I also just love, I just love the universe. The universe was really good, and I thought it was
realistic.
Well, yeah, that's really what it was, but it also was simplistic enough where a lot could be left to the imagination.
Right.
Which is something that Ishiro Honda did all the fucking time.
Right.
And, God, Del Toro, I think, really knew what he was doing when he was making this movie.
Yeah, that's... the thing that I look for in movies is realism. When it's a movie like this, when it's set in the real world. You know, if I know that it's, you know, some mythical world, then it's like...
Or, like, if it's a movie that takes place about, like, 120 years from now.
Right.
You can kind of look past that, like, okay, technology could have done this.
But this is 2020, or 20...
It was 2020. And then it was 5 years after that, so I guess it would have been 2025.
2026.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you think about it, where technology's going, yeah, it's very realistic.
It is very possible. Like, I love how the first one wasn't digital power. It was analog.
And then analog
and nuclear. Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because that's exactly what we would have done.
Right.
Of course, Godzilla would have loved that if he was there, but...
And it's like, and it's just, I love how they brought you into another world, but also kept you in the world. Like, you can feel like this could happen, so it makes the imagination go, oh, whoa, what if this really happens?
Well, yeah, and that was another thing, too. Like, some of the people criticized it. Even people that liked it were like, giant robots, could we really do that? And I was like, well, let's just say giant monsters did come out of the fucking ocean, out of a vagina, out of the bottom of the sea, and started
the Pacific Ocean
destroying a ship. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Conspiracy! It's a government conspiracy, Obama, NSA, whatever.
You don't say that. You need to cut that out. They might come follow us.
Oh, yeah. Bombs, explosions, bombs.
Terrorism! Pentagon!
But,
Underwear.
Feces bomb.
Feces bomb?
Feces.
Fecal
matter.
Ooh. We're going somewhere with this.
We're going somewhere with this. But, I was like, no, there's a video game called Red Alert.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, you do know, okay. Yeah. But you know how, I liked how that explains...
I'm a gamer, you doofus.
I didn't really know, sorry. Well, at least about Red Alert. I didn't. But what I liked about that was how the technology was like, what if the war kept going on?
Right.
And I was like, well, then that could explain this. And I was like, well, what if the Kaijus did keep attacking? Then we would do something against it.
And it's not... And I mean, if you look at it, the technology isn't even that advanced. It's
really
just mechanical.
It's just all mechanical and just put into a much greater scale than what we really know now.
Right. If you put all the greatest minds in the world together and give them unlimited resources, they could probably invent something insane.
Yeah, and something else that I really liked about this is that even when 2020 comes or 2025 hits and that doesn't happen, you could still watch the movie and be like, well, since they did attack in 2020-something, this could be a totally different universe. It could be like, what if this did happen? Then the technology would go this way.
Right.
Oh, you know who we haven't talked about? Hellboy. So badass.
His character was wonderful.
He's so funny. He was just like freaking kaiju bone powder.
It's apparently it's a great enlargement drug.
Yes. America needs it bad. But it's just, I found him so funny, and I was like, and you know what was really funny? I was like, when the baby thing ate him, I was like, he's gonna come cutting out of that, like completely joking. You know, it'd be funny if he just completely cut out of that, and then all of a sudden the ending, all of a sudden he just
after the credits,
he's like, where's my goddamn shoe?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, and there happens to be a theater around you still playing it, make sure you stay through the credits.
Well, I'm pretty sure people that are watching this, most of them probably have already seen it, because we're seeing this much later than most of the people. But
just saying.
Yeah, I know.
There might be an individual out there who's apprehensive about it, and our awesomeness might convince them otherwise.
Our awesomeness.
Right.
How long is this video?
I don't know.
43 minutes. Okay, whatever. A normal length video, anyways. But I don't have too much more to say.
R.D.
R.D. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know.
I'm referring to him as RD from this point on because his name makes me want to vomit.
Something.
It's like Ramin Djawadi.
Something 9/11.
But it makes the NSA go, ooh.
Here's the thing. When I heard that he was doing the music for this, I was like, really? The guy who did the music for fucking Iron Man?
Yeah.
That music wasn't that good. Best soundtrack since Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like,
So
cranked it up in the car.
Yeah.
Cranked it up. Boom, boom. Like when the end credits were going, windows down, jamming.
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
It was the perfect mixture of, like Tron Legacy, techno, rock, and an instrumental.
right.
God, it was so good, and it really fit.
And the other tracks too.
Yeah.
Were like and I loved how they played with the emotion, almost to the point where you didn't realize that they were there unless you were listening to them, because they were so felt with the emotion that they blend right into the emotion.
Yeah, and then another thing that I really liked about it is that a lot of movies have a constant track.
Yeah.
This movie, when there didn't need to be any music, there was no music.
Right. Exactly.
Which I think was a testament to Akira Ifukube.
Right.
Because Akira Ifukube did that a lot. Where if he said, I don't think any music needs to be here, he wasn't going to make music for that scene. And I kind of felt like, and especially since this is a kaiju movie, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they were going for. But, God, that soundtrack was great. I actually bought it.
I did not. But,
God, I was so happy to see this. Finally.
yeah.
God damn.
It had been... I felt so bad when I got into the accident and we couldn't go to see it.
Oh, man. I was so angry, but then I was like, oh, knowing Andre, he probably had a good reason. And so I just got kind of drunk and hung out with a couple of friends.
Well, that's always a positive thing to do.
But, God.
We don't endorse
drunkenness.
But it's fun and awesome, and do it if you want.
Libertarians right
there.
The most libertarian thing we'll probably ever say. But, goddamn, was this movie fun. It was fun, it was good. This is the perfect definition of a summer movie. This movie at least needs to get nominated for the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. I probably won't, but...
Iron Man 3 probably will.
And probably win.
Because fuck America, that's why.
Fuck America. God, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
so worth seeing this movie. And considering the shitstorm like Man of Steel, considering all
do we
these
really
fucking...
do I need to go into the list of failed movies that we've got this year?
Fucking summer? Oh god, it was awful. This was such a good can of fresh air.
It was. I mean, that and Star Trek Into Darkness.
Star Trek Into Darkness was a good movie too.
And it was they were the only two redeemed movies of this year thus far.
Yeah.
I've been in this slump. Like, I pay to go to the movies.
To get shit.
And then I go to the movies, and I'm like, I know this movie probably isn't going to be the greatest, but I have expectations that at least it's going to entertain me. I'm not looking for a movie
and
that's good.
Iron Man 3 was horrible.
And I literally was bored. I've never been bored. I like Iron Man. I like Robert Downey Jr. I know he doesn't, but I do. I mean, I think he's a good character. I really liked him in Zodiac, which many people, I don't know.
Well, Robert Downey Jr., I just don't like Iron Man.
Yeah, but, well...
I like the concept of Iron Man.
I like Robert Downey Jr., so I think he's a good actor. And I think other people would disagree with me too. I think that Sherlock Holmes was a good film. I think both of them were good, but
fuck, this movie was awesome.
Yeah.
This movie on the rank from the shit to the bomb. Well, let's see. There's the shit, which is the least amount of shits you can give.
Right.
There's the bomb, which is the middle amount of shits you can give, and then there's the fuck, which is the ultimate amount of shits you can give. Yeah. And this is definitely the fuck.
This is like
bing 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 fucks given on this movie.
This is like having sex 6 times in a night.
Yeah.
One night.
Okay. Anyway,
I give it a 4 out of 4.
Easily 4 out of 4. Yeah. Kaiju lovers wet dream.
Yeah, I don't give films. I've given TV shows 10 out of 10. But I don't usually give movies a pure 10 out of 10. Because there's always usually something wrong.
Me neither. Well, when you're giving it on like a 1 to 4 scale, you have to be a little bit more lenient. Because according to like IMDb, if I gave a movie a 10, that's still technically a 4 out of 4 for me.
Right.
But because normally I give movies 8 or 9s if I really like them. But this movie easily 10.
Yeah, 10.
10. Oh my god.
I mean, I gave Game of Thrones a 10.
Okay. Well, that show deserved it.
Better than Lord of the Rings. I've never.
Yeah.
It's longer, and it's never gonna end.
It's never gonna end.
Like 15 seasons.
Yeah.
15 seasons. But
anyways, Pacific Rim, wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I definitely recommend it.
I
recommend it to everybody.
Pre-order it too. Pre-order the collector's
Blu-ray,
edition, Blu-ray edition with. I mean, it's worth pre-ordering.
I'm not sure we're going to get an extended cut with this because I'm pretty sure Del Toro had the final say on the cut.
Yeah.
Which normally, if
he
the director,
might though, he might.
Knowing him, I don't know, because Del Toro is one of those directors where I'm like, well, if you said this cut was your cut, then I believe it's your cut. It's probably the best cut.
Right.
Dawn of the Dead is a case of that where there's George A. Romero's cut, which is the theatrical cut, and then there's the extended cut. And George A. Romero's cut is my favorite one, and it's about 10 minutes shorter.
Right.
Just the pacing I felt was a lot better. But I feel like probably that's the deal with this movie. But easily 4 out of 4 stars.
Yeah.
Easy. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. It was definitely worth 2 years. Definitely worth waiting 2 years. Now, will Godzilla be worth waiting 2 years? That.
You've been waiting for that longer.
Right, I've actually been waiting for that probably my whole life. But even before I knew it was being made.
Before you were born. And when you were...
It was destiny.
When you were in your mother's womb.
I was like, Godzilla?
You're like...
What is this? Some people, when they're born with a map of East Germany. I was born with a copy of the original Godzilla.
That's a map of East Germany.
Alright, so sayonara.
Ciao.
First off, I'm Adam Noyes from Adam Noyes. This is Andre Raoul
from Sounds Epic Music.
Check that out. A lot of epic music, specifically Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan soundtrack.
Yeah, and I'm working right now on uploading more. So
Star Trek 3.
Just please subscribe, and share. I'm trying to get to 100,000 views. That's my all-time goal.
And subscribe to me.
Yeah.
Always. Also, you can also email me at noiseadam92 if you're interested in getting the trilogy pack to my Zeke trilogy, which is my zombie trilogy. $15.
Worth it.
Yes. A shit ton of special features, audio comment. I think we're doing an audio commentary on it, as well as other fun behind-the-scenes footage on all 3 movies. Which that also includes the Redux version of Forest of Blood and the never-before-seen extended director's cut. And yes, I mean never-before-seen. It's never been shown, even on YouTube. Cut of Lake of Death, as well as the new movie Compound of Chaos. So please just email me if you're interested. Again, noiseadam92 at gmail.com, and just say you're interested, and I'll get a feel for how many I need to make, and I will send them out. Again, it's $15. We take cash or check. No credit cards. We're not that advanced yet. We're not even.
Oh, no, PayPal.
I'm thinking about getting a PayPal. But again, I'm not there yet. So, whatever. Check that out. And again, Pacific Rim is awesome.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck.